The first thing I set up a microscope, okay? And so what I did, and I want you to know I'm not picking on anybody, I literally went out and grabbed some plastics off some competitive baits, okay? And again, there's no funny business or anything like that. I just want to show you things. I want to educate you on some of the things that I learned 10 years ago, okay? The first thing is I set up a microscope, and I just took a chunk of plastic, okay, from a competitor. I want you to look at it with your natural eyes, okay, because that's what you use to judge a lot of things, okay? And then what I'm going to do is we're going to kick on basically some UV lighting underneath the microscope, and I want your eyes to see what is actually in that polymer, okay? And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because a lot of times you think you know things, and you really don't dig down quite deep enough to truly understand what's going on with some of the products that we fish with, okay? And so it's just literally to show you kind of what is ingrained in some polymers. Does that make sense? Some plastic, okay? In the tank, I want you to walk by. I basically have taken these. You can, just so there's no, you can, you know, what we did, we basically kind of set them next to a UV bait in the tank. So you've got a watermelon Cinco next to a watermelon Cinco. You've got a white frog next to a white frog. You've got a blue-black beaver type bait next to a blue-black beaver type tape in the tank, okay? I want you just to see what is different. This one bait here on this side is actually GV. When you pull it out of the tank, it is actually blue, but your eyes will tell you that it's green. I want to challenge you on the color spectrum because that's what you typically use, okay? Sometimes, you know, we got some great fishermen here, but if I was to ask them what you're going to use, blue, black, green, pumpkin, watermelon, you know, I mean, just some standard colors depending on where you're at, depending on the water clarity. We got a table rock guy here, right?
Yeah.
Gin clear, 60 feet sometimes.
Right. You named all the colors that I
Yeah.
throw.
And so all I want to do is really show you those exact colors next thing. The main thing that you should see in the tank is that UV baits reflect light, and you should see that the other polymers absorb it. Okay, that's a really big deal because a lot of what's indigenous that the fish feed on, shiners, crawfish, all that kind of stuff, shad, they all reflect light. And so that's kind of a big deal with what's indigenous to the water that they feed on. We really just try to make a bait that's more visible. But I just want to show you, and again, they're side by side relative to some other companies, okay, which I think is important. Okay. The other thing I want to show you, we've got a couple new baits. I want to put those in the water and just kind of see what they look like. Then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to run a swim bait, okay, in the water. You know, because obviously Tightlines, if you were to say what is Tightlines, Tightlines is the color company in the fishing industry. That's what we do. We manufacture colors to make fish break. I've got just a teeny little rattle here, okay. It's a small rattle, but you'll see that in a lot of our baits, you'll see a little rattling sticker, okay? There's a reason for that, and that's Rattle Trap came up with rattling noise back in the 70s. Said, hey, a rattle trap catches fish. We rip them, and let's get real, murkier water, some of that's down south, really kills it, right? Well, one thing that I hope you learn by just being up here is that we're not just a color company. I'm going to put some gear on your ears. I'm going to run a bait that you will not hear with your naked ears, but I'm going to put some technology on you, and I'm going to let you listen to what one of my swim baits sounds like. Okay? So that you can literally, I'm going to bring the same frequency that a fish hears at into your audible range. And what we do is we digitize it. We actually mimic it. Then we built a rattle that sounds the same. And so this is all digital type technology, okay? But I'm just going to do it in just kind of a fun show and tell way. Is that okay? But again, this rattle, I'm going to set it right up here. You can try to hear if your ears even hear anything. I worked in a factory for the last 30 years. My hearing is not very good, but maybe you can hear something. But I'm going to put some device on your ears, and you're going to say, okay? So what I'd like for you to do is I'm going to do a little show and tell in the tank. You can do this. You guys can come around. And really, the polymer deal, I just want you to see that there's a lot more than what your eyes see. And truthfully, the whole deal is you'd be surprised how good fish see. So ultimately, we're trying to make baits more visible, catch more fish. Okay? That sound good? So just a little bit of show and tell. If you would, I'm gonna do the swim bait first, so just kind of get a little line going, and I want to stick some gear on you, just to tell you how it works. Okay. This is some ultrasonic type equipment. Okay. All you're gonna do is stick this little headset on. You won't hear much else. You're gonna put this in the water, and you're gonna hear exactly how the fish hear. Okay. This brings a noise into 40,000 hertz. Just so you know. So pretty cool, right? But I do a lot of testing with lures, and I just want you to know a lot of it's not just Bubba sizing. Okay. All right. That makes sense. So who wants to be first? Somebody get over there and take a look at the microscope. Somebody come over here and put this headset on. Okay? So there you go. This is actually the back. This is the front. That's the top. All you're going to do is stick it in the water. That's good right there. Okay? If you want to, Dick, you can. Come over here and be the... Yeah, I was going to say, but I do.
Yeah. Because you're already getting vibration from spin bait. Yeah. Especially when it's murky.
Bill, you gotta put your head under the water.
Did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? You can't hear anything now. Did you hear anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clicking and a clocking.
Yeah. Just kind of see if just do the old wiggle test. You hear anything? No. You don't hear anything, do you? No. Okay. Who's next?